Nashville, you're stuck in traffic, there's an accident.
I got that.
That's what Joe got.
Can you tell if it's taped?
Look at the DVD player and see, is that moving along?
Yes.
It looks great. It's clicking numbers.
All right, we're gonna bring it together, special meeting of the Deerfield Parks and Rec Commission for Thursday, September 16th?
15?
15.
15th, not the 13th. All right, meeting minutes of September 6th. People get a chance to review them.
I did. I moved the minutes as written.
Is there a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Citizens' comments? No citizens? All right, Old Home Day, discussion.
Could I ask, I think there was I was confused the last meeting, exactly what we were discussing. There was a lot of different facets. And I guess, Jack, maybe if you can paraphrase again what, it sounded like there was a proposal the 250th committee had. Is that worth
Right.
revisiting? Just so I didn't
Yeah,
misunderstand.
I think we have an opportunity. The 250th had 300 volunteers. Every organization in the community had a role. There were several hundred more people who participated, and a couple thousand people at a time on the grounds. And it was an example of bringing the community together, and people have been really happy with how it played. And it made me realize that we could do, as a one-day event and on a smaller scale in terms of money, but that we could do something like that for Deerfield, and it would be really healthy. I'm always concerned when I see selectmen's budget go to default every year, and, thinking we're sort of separated a lot. So I thought it was a way to bring the town together, have more people interact with others, and, and it was a place where we could have, invite the community. So, I love using the town hall whenever we can. We've done that, but on scale, we can't do that. And you can't do all the kind of activities that we can do on the fairgrounds. And the fairgrounds is happy to have us, and having a good relationship between the town and the Fair Association is a very important thing for Deerfield. And it was really good at the time when the fair paid for the first paving that was done in Deerfield, or electrified the town hall, or started the fire department, or bought the first fire truck. And I think, moving back toward that would be a really good thing for us. But it's a big job, and, it only makes sense if we really want to dig in. And, I think a lot of the people who worked on the 250th would be happy to work on stuff again. We know a lot now about what we can do, who the contacts are and where the resources are. And everybody who came in to work on the 250th was really happy with how they were treated and be happy to come back. So we wouldn't bring back Never's Band, probably, stuff like that. But, the military group from Wright Museum would love to come down again, and Steve would bring them, and the militias would love to come again. When I talked to Mark about it, he said that, not to do the excavator rodeo again every year, but do it every other year, and maybe have a mini excavator rodeo with homeowners, or, But I think if we could set up the activities that would bring more of Deerfield in, then that would be a healthy thing to do. But it sort of depends on people signing up for a sort of new model of, on scale. We can't invite Deerfield to the town hall. They don't fit. We can't park them. There's like 4,500 people in the town now. Just, you can't do it, so. That's what I wanted us to consider. And the 250th was all over it. They thought it was a great idea. The Fair Association is willing to have a Deerfield Day on the fairgrounds. There was no contention about that. They were really happy to do it. But it's up to us if we're, I think the Parks and Rec is where it would come from. When we started Old Home Day, it wasn't a town function at all. It was, Bud Rollins and Rebecca and I, and recruiting other people. But then it became a Parks and Rec function, and so it sort of depends on us.
Well,
Is that what you're asking?
Well, yeah, I guess, just to kind of capture the major threads there. One is you want to keep the synergy going that was created in the 250th. There was a lot of lessons learned and cooperation that was fostered between different groups. Am I correct in that?
Well, every organization in Deerfield, the VFW, I guess, they tried to get together a color guard and weren't able to. But other than that, I think every organization in Deerfield, the Quilters, the Women's Club, the Girl Scouts, the school, you know, the Fair Association, the Heritage Commission, both churches, the Historical Society, you know, the arts community, everybody. You know,
Right,
every
no, there was a-
organization in town.
Almost full participation on some level from all these groups, and it sounds like the 250th wants to keep that going.
So
I don't, they're interested in it, you
Yeah.
know, people were
Yeah,
interested in it, they liked the idea, they thought, you know, if we could do a one-day event like that, that would be really good for the community.
Yeah.
And I think that that's one of the things that would move us toward higher trust levels across the community, more interaction, you know, sort of, the people identify with one area of the community or another, and there's not a lot of cross conversation, you know, and I thought it would help with that.
Yeah. And, you know, it seems like Old Home Day would be a natural thing for that. And that was the consensus of that meeting, correct?
Yeah,
Okay.
So that would replace Old Home Day?
it would be Old Home Day.
It wouldn't
Yeah.
be anything up here, it would be all there?
Well, no,
Well,
it doesn't have
that's-
to not be anything up here. You know, we used to have a dinner the night before, you know, Eric Berglund, a bunch of people would cook chicken the night before, and that was an evening thing, and there could be other things.
Yeah,
I do think that that it's really important to make, if you want to make it work as a community event, you have to have a location that people come to and stay at. Otherwise, the Quilters, you know, who's going to come just for the Quilters? But people were really interested in seeing what they did, and it kind of blew us away with it. You wouldn't know that. And you can't have an art show if there's not an assembly of people. And, you know, I don't think you accomplish, people can individually have fun if there's baseball one place and, you know, an excavator rodeo in a different place, but it's not generating community. I would way rather have one site, and we do the best we can with the site, and have people be together and not driving around and reparking, and then, you know, that's where you'll find things going on, sort of. You know, that was really important to us in how we set up the 250th, and I think that's one reason it worked so well, and people were so happy with it. You know, we got a lot of thank you letters, I get emails, and people coming up to me all the time saying it was great, it was the best day of the year in Deerfield, and it's the best thing we've ever done. I get tons of that, so I think it worked really well. So I think it's an opportunity, but it's a big nut to crack. It's a lot to take on. But I think it's doable too. We did it, and
So it came up at the selectmen's meeting, that there was discussion about moving it. And apparently, from what I found out, I didn't know this, the town actually purchased the land at the gazebo 15-plus years ago with the intent that Old Home Day would be in the center of town at that spot. So part of the selectmen's
Yeah.
concern is that that's what that was purchased for. So in order
Right.
to move Old Home Day away from there, they want to have input into it.
but if Deerfield doesn't fit in the center of town, there's no point in having it in a place where you can't have the people come.
But it has fit. We haven't had a problem with parking or attendance.
Because we
or-
haven't had a big crowd. We have a group of people who come to Old Home Day, and they get along great, and we have a great party, it works really well, but it doesn't appeal to much of Deerfield. We get 10% of the town. And we get the same 10% pretty much. And that's fine. If that's what the committee wants to do, that's fine.
But-
It's so much easier.
I think
But
we
it's-
could have both. I think we could have the same structure as Old Home Day, keep the venue that we have, and ask you, as the facilitator for the 250th, go back to them and say, hey, we want all you guys, we're excited to work with you guys if you have events you want to run for the 250th, if the talent show's still going to go on, have that as our opening ceremony event Friday night. Some other group wants to have a spaghetti supper. You know, the 8th graders want to raise money for their New York trip. That's a great opening, you know, event. And then have, say, Dwight comes to the Parks and Rec and says, I want to have 2 baseball games, one at 10 and one at 12 on Saturday at the fairgrounds. So people will be going to the fairgrounds to see the baseball games. the basketball committee, basketball guys, last year, they had, their tournament at the George B. White. They utilized that facility with basketball courts. That was a huge event. We, at Parks and Rec, will accommodate anybody that comes here and says, we want to have an event. Like the 215. Alan O'Neill came here and said, we're going to have a dedication for the playground. We want to be included in Old Home Day for Mary Mahoney. We put it on the brochure, we advertised, put it on the poster, and it was a huge event. And we drew tons of people at a different facility. So we're using the school, the old school, the new school, the town hall, for all of the different events. 214th, the centennial celebration. The volunteers of the 250th came. Dee Dee and Mal came to several of our meetings and said, hey, we want to be part of Old Home Day. Can you help us out? And we did. We supported their event. It was great. Friends of the Library, it was awesome. They had a bunch of people go through to see the new gardens and everything. I took pictures. I made them a scrapbook so they can have it in the library. I think Deerfield Parks and Rec want to work with all the volunteers, but I would hate to move the whole thing out of the center of the town to the fairgrounds. Boom, done. You can have the art show in the great room at the church. You can have the quilters there all day. It's actually shorter to walk from the power lines to the town hall than it is from some of the parking spots in the fairgrounds to inside the gate. It is actually shorter distance. And we're not going to drop 4,500 people for Old Home Day. People have weddings, people have graduations, people are out of town on vacation, people are going back to school. We don't have a problem with parking, but I would just really hate to see the center of town not used. The library, the bake sale, the book sale, the race on the roads that we walk on and ride on and drive our cars on, the firemen's breakfast, those people that save lives and put fires out, our historic town hall. I don't know, I just would hate to lose the center of town.
You see it as, if we don't have Old Home Day in the center of town, we lose it?
To me, it's not the same. The whole reason they purchased that land was to have that, yes, but you're still missing the point of having it in the center. It's home. If you have a Deerfield Day on the fairgrounds, that's just like having the fair in August.
Was the 250th like having the fair in August?
Yeah, I didn't, personally, it was a great event. I really enjoyed the talent show and the dinner because I felt more connected with the people. I saw people that I hadn't seen before, the Humphreys, Bioto, the Billings. It was really nice, and I think the majority of the people enjoyed that. It was it wasn't small, it was a big event, but it seemed to draw everybody together, more so than the fairgrounds, except for the parade. There was a lot of people at the parade, but everything was scattered all around, and people were, if you were at one event participating in it, you missed all these other events. And it was hard to navigate around to that big of an area. And it didn't look like there were that many people there. I would have never guessed there were 4,500 people there.
There weren't. There were about 2,000 people at a time there.
Yeah, so
There's
you're gonna
4,500
get,
people in Deerfield is what I'm saying.
Right,
But don't think the 250th committee is going to do anything. The 250th committee is over.
right, but I'm
in
saying
January.
those people that volunteer, if you go back to them
Right,
and
but they're
say-
not, nobody's going to go back to them unless it's Parks and Rec. There isn't someone to go back to anyone except us.
Right, that's right. If they want to volunteer, they come back to us, tell the idea
That
to
works,
us, and
that
we can
works,
help.
that works by going to them, not waiting for them to come to us.
Well, do you know people that want to continue the talent show? Then-
There are people working on that now. There
Right.
was an independent initiative to do that. And that's planned to be in November next year. So there's people working on that, but it's a big undertaking. Anyway, I don't know if we need to spend a lot of our time on this. If people aren't excited about using the fairgrounds, then we won't. That's okay. I don't think we can use the fairgrounds a little bit. We either do it on the fairgrounds or we don't use the fairgrounds because, it's the overhead to run the fairgrounds and,
But we'll still
if
have,
people wanted to use it for baseball, that would be great.
And fireworks,
Right.
the
Yeah,
fireworks. is
fireworks
easy.
and baseball.
Fireworks could be the-
Because you're utilizing all the buildings in town and not just saying, here, we're gonna move it here.
You know, yeah, the baseball was very successful, but it's,
Well, I think what we gotta do is, this is good discussion, but it's not something we can decide tonight.
but I think we gotta know where the committee stands, because I gotta take action based on that, so.
Do we want to do a roundtable and let each person sort of, it's
Sure,
hard,
that
it's hard
sounds
to
great.
jump in sort of on,
Yeah,
in different
that's a great idea,
conversations.
sure. Next.
Oh, okay. I hope it started the other end.
Volunteer.
You want to
That's
defer to
usually how it
Julie?
starts out. Yeah, I mean, so unfortunately, I missed the 250th, which I feel, you know, very, very sad about, but all the feedback I've heard was glowing. There was really nothing negative I heard. Comparing the 250th and Old Home Day, it's tricky. I know there's a lot of events that the 250th opened up people's eyes to, and I think, you know, you can't ignore that, and I think we do need to start thinking about how that flows, you know, to, you know, recurring events. I can, you know, interject my personal feelings. I like the feel of, you know, the center of town. I love the fairgrounds, but in a whole different way for different reasons. One thought that I had was potentially to do some sort of a, and maybe you guys have talked about this, just do some sort of a survey, like they have those Survey Monkeys, or the Forum sometimes has those little surveys online. Because, you know, I'm bringing my personal feelings to it, but, you know, I haven't talked to 100 different people to find out what they might like, and that's really the point, is to find out what the majority of people in town would be excited about. Would they be excited about having it at the fairgrounds instead? I don't know. I really think that there are some great events that can be facilitated there that we'll never be able to handle in the center of town, but I don't know why. I guess I'm trying to understand why we couldn't do certain events at the fairgrounds and still have the feel of the center of town. So I guess probably one point that I'd like to make is if there's some way to survey as many folks as we can, so that we feel like we're representing the majority of, you know, what people would actually attend and what specific events they were the most excited about and would come back for year after year, not just for the next couple of years, but year after year. So that was the only point I really wanted to make. If anybody else, I don't know if you added anything, Melissa.
I agree with you. Survey's a great idea, and, you know, the more people we have volunteer, the more events and different events, and we can reach more people. I think that's what Parks and Rec, you know,
Yeah,
tries to do with all their programs.
right. Yeah, ultimately,
Yeah.
we want to be,
Right.
you know, Jack's got a great point. There are things missing from Old Home Day that people just don't go because there's nothing there that's drawing them.
Right.
And I think there were things at the
Right.
250th that would add more people to the mix. And that's something we need to keep in mind.
A couple of things I was thinking about was, I too like the center of town, but I also like some of the things that were at the fairgrounds. And my thought was that unless we need to decide very quickly, that it would be great to talk about and put out a list on a sheet of what do we want Old Home Day to look like, and what events do we want to have, and what does it take? What can be done here in the center of town? What can't be done in the center of town and would be better suited for the fairgrounds? And we had the road race there. We can do the road race in town. The police chief absolutely prefers it at the fairgrounds. I liked it better there too, the less of the crazy hills, but someone's crazy husband likes
Kills.
these hills.
Yes.
But also on that note too, we did away with the bike ride, the bike race that we used to have. Jeannie Menard used to run it, and then Gigi and I started running it a few years ago. And when we moved it to the fairgrounds, we got the biggest turnout ever with the bike ride because it's safe and there's a place for kids to ride bikes without being on the road. you know, the excavator thing, I didn't get to go to that, but I heard that was great. The pan fry thing was like a lot of fun, people like that. And the cornhole brought out young kids, parents and their kids, adults, people that you'd never see, kind of. And so there's a lot of things, but I think just kind of putting it all out on a sheet going, this is what we can do, and then decide what events we want to do. And could we just figure out a way to do both places if that works? So,
Oh, just one question, Jeff, in regards to, you mentioned that it seems to be a point of law that Old Home Day shall be, we purchased it for that,
I don't think it's law. I think that,
or how strong is the language, I guess. That was a facet I hadn't considered, but I guess,
I didn't know either till they brought it up at the selectmen's meeting.
yeah.
Well, I mean, it was to be used for town events like Old Home Day, which
Yeah.
when we started it, the town maybe had 1,500 people, and
Right.
we didn't have that space in the back.
and we still use it for town events with the
And we,
gazebo
and
and Friday
we
night.
still use it for
Concerts.
concerts. I think,
Concerts,
the question is the one that's come up here. I do think the thing of having a common location where a lot of things are going on, and it's fine for them to be at the same time. People don't have to be able to get to everything. There are different interests. It gets more people together. But the point isn't a great excavator rodeo. It's people having fun together and engaging with other people from the town, and just we meet other people and develop broader networks, and that's what I want as an outcome. I want us to get off of default budgets. I want us to trust the selectmen more. I want people to be hearing each other and, not think that what they're trying to do is stick it to somebody or whatever. And I think that depends on just knowing each other. So I think Parks and Rec Joe does an amazing job, especially of making that true. But a lot of the programs are helping us a lot. And I think that's what we're looking for. And maybe, maybe the right thing to do is every 5th year we do it on the fairgrounds or something, and we do an excavator rodeo, and we bring down military vehicles and have a frying pan toss. It's a big advantage to have bleachers for stuff like that. And, and maybe it's something like that, it's gotta be whatever we decide, we're the committee. It really is coming from us.
Yeah, that's actually not a bad idea. If you did every 3rd year or something like that, and you do more of a, I don't know what you'd call it, but, a bigger event.
Call it Old Home Day. That's
Yeah.
fine.
'Cause if you, yeah, and
I
that's
mean,
actually a
we
good
did it,
point, Jack.
instead of Old Home Day this year, it's,
Right.
I think one event is enough for us to try to do. There's a lot to it.
Yeah, and you don't burn people out if you're asking them to, constantly put together a talent show every year, or constantly.
Right.
I was kind of secretly hoping everybody would be against it, because I get a lot of vacation time.
Really? There you go.
But if we did it, I'd work my tail off again, I think it's, I love doing that for Deerfield. so.
Rebecca has paid us all large sums
No,
of money
no.
to get you out of this.
No, it's like the Hall of
She's
Fame, you don't
working
have
hard,
that
too.
every year. Like you
She's-
said, the Hall
she's
of Fame
working
is
hard,
not
too.
every year,
Mhm.
No, it's whatever the group thinks, I think it represents opportunity, and I think we're in a better position than anybody in town, other than the direct sort of policies and engagement of the selectmen to try to work on this, and so.
I think, I like Amy's idea of doing a survey, and I'm sitting here thinking, I wonder if we can put a list together and include it in the tax bill and send it out.
Oh.
That hits everybody.
Right.
And what would be great to put all the events that you could possibly, as well as other, like, would you want to have, like, Jeannie had called me about a women's softball game, and that never got off the ground.
Yeah.
But,
We have to be careful, because you're not gonna be able to stuff it with several pages. We have
Right.
to put a pretty condensed list that is a one-sheeter.
There's another clean playing field down there, which is employee parking. The D parking lot can actually be turned into a field really easily. It's really flat. When they had the dog frisbee thing down there, dog
Oh,
disc
right.
thing,
Yeah, way
that's
out
what they
towards-
used, and they had lines in there, and it was like, oh, that could be soccer, or,
Right.
You don't have to park there. And if it was Deerfield, we could do the parking in a totally different way. I mean, we were prepared in case there were 12,000 people. We paid $5,000 for parking attendants for, 1,000 cars. We just wouldn't do that again. Now we know we can have an event on the fairgrounds and not get buried. It was how we carefully managed the publicity, so. And it was cool for
We
the
gotta remember
softball,
that for
for
the
the baseball
candlelight.
game, that people could just drive right up to it.
Mm-hmm.
That was really nice, so.
So I guess the other concern I would have is if those numbers are you get 1,000 or 1,500 people, how do you feed them? I mean, we're not gonna do
a lot of
chicken for that
chicken,
many
yeah.
people.
Right, but that's the kind of thing that people who work on it can figure out.
Yeah.
I
mean-
mean, so you run, so you recruit a bunch of people to run grills and make hamburgers and hot dogs, and you sell tickets, and the tickets are for a certain kind of food, and people know that's coming up, and if they don't have a ticket, and other people bring their own food, and, you know, I mean, that's the kind of stuff a committee can figure out. You know, brainstorming, we can figure out how much chicken we can do, and whatever. You know, the Nine Lions might help us, or another vendor. The vendors were so eager to be there, you know, but we had too many now, it turns out, but we didn't know. If there's somebody who's gonna be unhappy down there, I want it to be the vendors. No, not the people, because they can't get food, so. So anyway, we could figure that out. And if that many people come and wanna eat, that's a good thing.
Mhm.
So we gotta figure out how to deal with it.
Right, and
Rather than
you
say,
don't
we
wanna
want
turn
less
them-
people so we can feed them.
No, I understand, I mean, I'm just thinking of the past 4 or 5 that we've done is like 400 pounds of chicken or whatever it is.
At the variety show, we just sold tickets, and we only sold 300. A lot more than 300 people came.
Yeah.
The same thing in January 9th, we only sold tickets. If you didn't have a ticket, you didn't eat, but you still got to, you know, go to the ceremony, and,
Yeah,
you know, we can do that. That's
that's for the
one
committee
of
to
the smaller,
decide.
that's one of the smaller problems, right?
All right, so it sounds like what I'm hearing out of this is we want to put a survey together, is probably a priority. And maybe we can talk to Jan and see if, Jan, to see if we can get it included in the tax mailing. Do you want to work on
I could
something?
gin one up.
Okay,
What I'll do is I'll make some examples and pass them around, we can come up with something.
yeah, and put on it, you know, the email for Parks and Rec and email for the town, or the website for the town where they can, I'm thinking of sending responses to.
Oh, well, right now, that's after we get one together, what I'm proposing. I'll
So it's
I'll
gonna
come
be-
up with a survey, I'll pass it around, so we,
Right, but I'm thinking on the survey, where's it go?
Is
Who's
it
get
electronic
sent
or
to?
hard copy? We're
Right.
doing, or both?
well, I'm gonna hard copy it to you guys for critique.
Right, but
And-
for the people, none,
Yeah, when you're done with your survey.
Oh,
we-
input, I thought we were putting in the tax bill, but you wanna do it
Yeah, well,
electronically?
who's gonna?
Is it a
where's
link
it respond
that
to?
they fill?
Oh.
Go to?
Understand what you're saying.
Just send it to Parks and Rec office.
Yeah, I would say you can put the email for Parks and Rec or
Okay.
the address.
The address. And they can also be available online.
Yeah, you can put it on the town website too.
Who does that, actually?
If you did, you know, a monkey survey, or is it Survey Monkey?
Survey
I always
Monkey.
go back and forth with that. You could have an option of mailing that in, or just going to this Survey Monkey.
Survey
with
Monkey,
the
yeah.
website.
So would you do that instead of a mailer?
I think you could do both, because then you can put the link for the monkey survey.
Yeah, yeah,
Survey Monkey.
yeah.
You know, you can send that out in a variety of ways and put that on the website as
That's what I'm
well.
thinking.
You shotgun it, you get more responses, I think.
Right, well, Jack said it too, is a lot of people don't have email access and
Don't use computers at all.
don't use computers.
Right,
so.
forum? Well, no, they only have a,
I think if we get it in the tax bill and on the town website, the tax bill's gonna hit everybody,
right,
so. And I
okay.
think we can do that. I guess we'll have to check with Jan to make sure.
When's the deadline?
I don't know.
I think that theme, though, of trying to extend the things we do in that direction, which, not to criticize at all what we're doing, especially, Joe, what you're doing with those Friday evening, Saturday evening, whatever events, it's just brilliant, cool, and you deserve a whole lot more support in making that happen. But I think that direction of trying to be a force, which is what the 250th was all about, for building community and pride and community, a sense this is a good place to live. For us to be thinking creatively about how to do that. So we have a sort of conclusion on that. Can I just move into something closely related? Is that okay?
What, a conclusion on what we're
Well, we
gonna,
have a conclusion about a survey.
yeah,
I talked about something closely related. So one of the things that that the 250th has tried to do, which is, a lot of that is me driving ideas there, I'm sure, is whenever anything else comes up, find any way we can to support it. So where this happened recently was with the arts tour. And So they're making a banner, and I'll have it tomorrow or the next day, so, announcing the arts tour, and we're gonna put it on the bottom of the 250th sign on the other side of the road while the arts tour is going on. And then following that, we're gonna do a night for Abraham Prescott in November. At least I gotta call back Volker, but I think it's all set, and I've been doing a ton of reading for it. And so then that one will go up on there. And then I think there'll be a 250th event in January or something, a concluding event before we close. But that we be looking for anything that's coming up. In fact, I'm meeting with the people that are putting together the variety show to not do anything to suggest how they do the variety show or where they do the variety show or when or what it's about or anything, but just say, what can we do to support your success in the variety show? And I think that should include supporting them in budget and in publicity and trying to make the events like the Historical Society events, of which they have many and they're great, but you get 30 people there or 20 people there, and to try to make those Deerfield events sponsored by the Historical Society. And we try to extend the communication a lot farther and sort of endorse those things, which we do through the Parks and Rec Facebook page and stuff like that. But that we just keep, whenever any group is like the Memorial Day thing, that we do more work and find ways, like that sign, we can keep that sign up and just replace the half-inch plywood every once in a while. And maybe make part of our budget. I think it would cost us $60, at least as long as Matt's working where he is, to get 4x8 Coroplast, $60 a piece. We could put up signs on that and any other ways that we can think to sort of, lacking communication in town. And maybe that eventually extends to some kind of a newsletter that's 6 times a year or something that has that in it. So many people in this town have said the one thing we lack in Deerfield is a newsletter. I don't see that need, but I talk to a lot of people and get a lot of communication. But a lot of people say, I don't know what's going on. So I think there is a real need since the communicator doesn't exist anymore.
Oh.
So maybe that becomes something Parks and Rec is really interested in promoting and finding a way to fund. There's some really generous people in town who would help us, I think. And, let's see what sort of.
Some of the other forms, like the closed caption, it's so out of date. Did you ever watch the park? Right now, there's stuff
Oh, yeah,
advertised for June.
right.
Sign up for the softball, And I don't see the website so as close, but it doesn't seem very dynamic either. Like, I think it's something we can employ more of. I don't know who does it, and it's probably.
I'm sorry,
Well,
town website?
or the closed caption TV. All the stuff on there is pretty dated.
So the
And I'm not
PowerPoint
trying
slides,
to
yeah.
point fingers. It's probably
Yeah.
somebody does in their spare time.
Yeah.
And,
Well, the PowerPoint presentations are basically sent by department to Steve. There is an IT person who handles all of that stuff, so
Okay.
including the film that we put together at any of the meetings that are done or
Right.
anything, so. Steve's the IT person, does do that.
So if
but
he
gets
doesn't
the
get anything, he
submissions from the
doesn't
departments.
update it. Okay.
Yeah, but he's gonna take his direction from what's submitted.
Right.
So if we submit a PowerPoint slideshow for that,
Yeah.
then we need to replace it when it's
Right.
updated.
I see what you mean. Yeah.
And so
Okay.
forth.
So maybe that's a channel, is using that,
Yep.
is having like a regular feature on there of what's going on in Deerfield.
That sounds familiar.
Used to have that with
Yes,
Erica.
I had my What's Happening Deerfield show running for a while. We're a little bit between episodes right now. Like everything else, it's on a back burner back there, so hopefully.
When you get your
Well,
assistant.
it doesn't necessarily, that seems to be kind of involved. It doesn't have to be,
Oh, actually, it'd be easier now than it ever was, because now we would do it right in this room and
Yeah. it's
Oh,
already-
okay.
and
so
it-
just
and
click
go
and-
and
oh, all right.
vamp for half an hour and see you next week, so,
Yeah.
as long as we know what it is we're promoting. But then
Right.
you would bring in guests, like whoever it may be, and they would talk about their particular
Their
thing,
event.
whether
That
it's
would
the
be
arts
cool.
tour or what.
Okay,
whatever
all
it may
right,
be.
yeah.
Yeah,
Just to
So-
let you know, I don't know if anybody knows, there's an event that the PTO is looking, it's on their docket to try to do a triathlon next summer.
really?
Yeah.
A
Sue-
real,
Sue Fifield had Facebook messaged me about it. I had heard something previous, and I think I mentioned to a few people that someone else had mentioned about doing one this summer, and that didn't work out, but I'm wondering if they're just kind of piggybacking on the idea that maybe work on it for next year as an eighth grade fundraiser.
And did she send that message to you as a Parks and Rec Commission member or
Just
as a participant?
As a
Or both.
to help out, participant or whatever.
There you go.
Yeah, it wasn't as a Parks and Rec, but I'm just, when Jack's talking about supporting different things going on, that might be going on next summer, and
Yeah.
that would be a good thing to promote and help them out with. I think they talked about doing, the initial plan that I had heard, Sue didn't say this, but the initial plan was something about swimming at VZ, biking to DCS, and doing the cross-country course there. But who knows, they might come up with some other plans.
The sixth grade has talked about having a cornhole tournament.
Cool.
What is it?
Cornhole
Oh, yeah.
tournament. They're asking about me making winners boards, championship boards.
I'm sure.
Caught on fire in town, because.
Yeah, I tied him into Phil Parker, who's the sort of champion, the New Hampshire champion cornhole,
Yeah.
and lives in town, and he's the guy we borrow the boards from, so that's a start, but that's another one, so just wherever those are to support them.
Even I like your idea of a mailer or a newsletter or something too, do it twice a year or something.
Yeah, it needs to be a little bit more than that, but just
Quarterly.
because of things come up. But
Yeah, yeah.
If it was every 2 months, it could be okay. It's pretty expensive, but
It is expensive.
Yes.
it might be something we could
Forums
fundraise
having
into
that
for a while.
Quarterly, you think?
Yeah,
But anyway.
quarterly
yeah.
seems.
You have to know enough stuff of what's gonna happen, to be able
Right.
to
Yeah.
You're right.
So it is hard without the communicator, a lot of people don't know.
Yeah.
And you could sell advertising too, which is what they did, so.
Talk Jerry Liptak out of retirement, too.
Okay, I think we've done good conversation, and got some good ideas going.
Action items,
Action items,
survey?
Survey.
So the one last thing is the 250th committee is gonna run up with $10,000 or $12,000 probably, depending on what we do for additional events. And we could, I'm not sure what people there are gonna wanna do. It could be just contributed to the Town Hall Restoration Fund, or it should be it needs to be something that directly supports community in Deerfield, because that's what it was donated and raised for. We can't become the community chest or something.
You
But-
can't just keep it in a fund and use it for like that talent show and, keep the events going? Like if you need props or renting costumes, or why do you have to just dump the money right away? What's the urgency of dumping it just putting it somewhere?
So I said what Melissa said, then she's just continuing my,
Yeah, I'm confused.
no, I
Yeah,
would have said
I
something like
know.
that, but you broke in. So
Sorry, I'm
that was
confused.
I think I talked about that when we met before. So one of the things we could do, and I've talked to Jan about this, is just move it into the Parks and Rec budget to be used for purposes like that. I think, I guess I would like to see that be purposes like that, not to replace stuff that Parks and Rec does, but to be stuff that's really community supporting, that's generating social capital in Deerfield across all of us as much as possible. So supporting initiatives like the variety show is perfect, that people are stepping up to make something happen, and so.
What about,
That was
any
my
thought-
first thought, and I've talked to the committee about doing that.
Yeah, and what about if you moved it into the Joe Stone account?
Well,
Because
she knew what to do with an account, she had a proposal about that,
Yeah,
so I
I
don't
mean,
want
because that
I
one
don't wanna
there,
figure
it's
that out
already
here.
separate,
Yeah.
and you could also just broaden the scope a little bit of the Joe Stone Fund. I mean, it could be used to, support programs in town as well as the other stuff that it encompasses now,
But now it's scholarship, isn't it?
yeah,
Yeah.
but that's what I'm saying, you
It
could do
should
the
be
same
separate.
account,
Just
but
make another-
expand.
Something separate.
She had an idea.
It shouldn't go in the revolving or the
She had an idea.
tombstone. I would put in something
It should be in the
separate.
budget, a line item in the
Isn't there a
budget.
charter involved or something?
Yeah.
The Joe Stone?
Yeah, she had an idea.
But, yeah.
Anyway, I don't want to, I'll leave that, and we should just leave that to the people that do the accounting and
Yeah.
tell them what we want. They've been incredible support on everything, just perfect.
That's good.
So anyway, that's another option, so I don't know. It sounds like people think that's a good idea.
Yeah, I think it'd be a great idea.
Yeah.
Come up with not necessarily Old Home Day, but community activity line
It
or
hasn't been
something
Old
like
Home
that.
Day. We've done it for so many different things.
Yeah, that's what I
we've
mean. You
paid
don't
for it,
wanna
that
say
budget.
it's, you don't
It
wanna
could
put
be
it in
like,
the line.
it could be buying T-shirts for people who do the cleanup
Right.
again. volunteer T-shirts that are bright color to wear on the road. That's one thing that really helped expand the number of people who did that, which was very cool. And then they came
That-
back
that
and we
was-
excavated the outhouse.
Yeah, that was a great event, actually.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
we
I'm
had fun.
assuming money could continue to go into it as well.
You
We
accept
could
donations
keep
to it.
getting donations, I am sure, if we asked, and we were clear about the purpose. I think that's what's really important to me in terms of sort of honoring the relationship with the donors especially, but everybody who's worked on it is that it's really, we're using this to build social capital. It's not a scholarship fund, it's not for making donations, it's supporting events that build the social capital of Deerfield, that improve our community with activities, with being together and doing together and taking care of ourselves and, yeah, looking out for our town and.
Well, it's, one thing, it's not just all about Old Home Day. I mean, that stuff happens, needs to be built year-round.
Right, right, and I
Several
think
different
we've
venues,
done
so.
that, you know, we planted daffodil bulbs and had a January 9th event and had a kickoff dinner last fall and, you know, the outhouse excavation and the cemetery tour and the garden tour and, right, there's been a bunch of things and there's more coming, so. Yeah, the Women's Club put that granite marker out there, you know,
Right.
yeah.
That's a really good point, actually, because we're focusing so much on trying to make Old Home Day this grand inclusional day. Whereas there's a lot of things that are happening that people can't attend that 1 or 2 days. And so maybe that's one of the things we need to think about is different times of year and sort of thinking about when people are going to be available to, be around to participate in town events that builds that community.
Yeah, it's just not one day.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it needs to be, something that keeps the energy going
It's a
throughout the
seasonal
year.
thing. You should have things
Yeah,
during different seasons.
which Parks and Rec does well, actually, with
Mhm.
the winter stuff and, yeah. Anyway.
He'd do more if he had an assistant.
I agree.
He's got all these ideas.
There's a lot to think about. But,
All right,
I just have one quick thing, and we could talk about it in October, but I just want to put it out there in people's head, the coffee house. We're on for that. Joe, I sent you the contract. I just have to, I couldn't print it when I sent it to you. I don't,
What's the date?
it's November 12th, a Saturday. So I will get the information out once we hit October for get volunteers and for everything. But I'm not going to be around that weekend, so I will not be there for setup or for working it. So I just, we need to make sure we have people there to do that.
12.
12.
I think it's the 12th, Saturday,
Are
the
you
12th.
there? then?
Tin Bill and Sound.
be there.
Do we need to do food?
Leslie takes care of all that, so.
Veterans Day.
I'll talk to them.
Julie, I'll do your spot with Amy and food.
Okay.
I'll skip taking money with Ernie at the door. Maybe I get my husband to help with the door.
I can help you with it.
Tell him to wear his kilt.
But just thinking
12, yeah.
out loud
Yeah.
about that date, being that we always do Veterans Day on the actual Veterans Day.
Yeah.
And
Friday?
Yeah, and I know that they traditionally take a few days to set the town
Yeah.
hall up.
They usually do it on
So-
Friday
Friday
afternoon.
night,
Yeah,
yeah.
the afternoon, because then they rehearse on Friday evening, like the musicians come in around 5 or
Check
6,
with
but
them,
usually
but yeah,
set up.
because we always do 11, 11, 11, so we're out of there sometime
Yeah,
12 and 1 or
yeah,
something.
that's fine.
That would
Should-
work well, I think.
Yeah, I don't think we've set up there anywhere earlier than
2, I think.
2 o'clock, right?
Okay.
I think that there's some, oh no, maybe not, okay, never mind.
Well,
I heard something
the
about a
point is,
conflict.
contingency might have to be setting up Saturday morning.
Well, it's up, yeah, Leslie will,
If there's stuff going on, we'll just have to, I know Leslie, but if somebody's there, especially that's an important holiday, we'll just have to.
But if you do it 11/11, that's the day before.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, it's day before in the morning.
Right, okay, so
Yeah.
we should be good.
Yeah.
I just thought sometimes whenever, earlier in the week, they brought stuff in and stuff too.
Yeah.
I think now that they have permanently set up some lighting or
Lights up
something,
there,
so
yeah.
that helps probably.
Yeah.
Have to do the stage and stuff, yeah.
Okay.
All right, we good? A motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Bye.
All right,